In 1859, a single pig almost started a war between the United States and the British Empire. Not a soldier, not a spy, a pig. A short fight on a small island nearly dragged two world powers into open conflict. Thousands of troops stood face to face, cannons aimed, all because one man shot his neighbor's pig. This is the unbelievable true story of the Pig War. Our story begins on a small piece of land called San Juan Island between Vancouver Island and the US territory of Washington. In the mid-1800s, this island sat in gray zone. Both Britain and America claimed it. The Treaty of Oregon, signed in 1846, was supposed to settle the border between the two nations. It drew the line through the middle of the channel, separating the mainland from Vancouver Island, but there was a problem. There were two channels, the Haro Strait and the Rosario Strait. Each side claimed the treaty meant a different one, and San Juan Island sat right between them. By the 1850s, both nations had settlers there. On one side, British employees of the Hudson's Bay Company running a large sheep farm. On the other, American homesteaders growing crops and raising livestock. Tension rised quietly. Then on 15 June 1859, everything exploded over a pig. An American farmer named Lyman Cutler discovered a black pig rotting his potato patch. It wasn't the first time. The pig belonged to Charles Griffin, an Irish employee of Hudson's Bay Company. Cutler, frustrated, warned Griffin to keep pig out, but when it happened again, he grabbed his rifle and shot the pig. When Griffin confronted him, Cutler admitted it. He said, "It was eating my potatoes. It's my right to protect my property." Griffin replied, "It was up to you to protect your potatoes. It's my pig you have shot." Cutler offered to pay $10 in compensation. Griffin demanded 100. They couldn't agree. Soon, British officials at the Hudson's Bay Post declared Cutler should be arrested. But the Americans refused, claiming British authorities had no right to enforce law on American soil. Word spread quickly. American settlers petitioned the US Army for protection. Within weeks, Captain George E. Pickett of the United States Army, yes, the same Pickett, who would later lead Pickett's charge at Gettysburg, landed on San Juan Island with 66 soldiers. His orders was to protect American citizens from British interference. The British were outraged. They sent 3 warships from Vancouver Island, commanded by Admiral Robert L. Baines. Soon, the island filled with American soldiers on one side and British Marines on the other. The standoff had begun. By August, the American had 461 troops, 14 cannons, and defensive earthworks. The British had 5 warships offshore with 2,000 sailors and marines. Each side waited for orders. One wrong move, one gunshot, and war would begin. British Governor James Douglas wanted to land troops and drive the Americans off, but Admiral Baines refused. He famously said, "Two great nations in a fight over a pig. I will never involve the two countries in a war over such a foolish thing." For months, the standoff continued. Soldiers from both sides camped on opposite ends of the island. They built forts, patrolled the beaches, and waited. But no one fired another shot. In October 1859, both governments finally stepped in. President James Buchanan of the United States and Governor Douglas agreed to joint military occupation of the island, each side keeping a small garrison until diplomats could settle the border dispute peacefully. For 12 years, the British and Americans coexisted on San Juan Island. They held parades together, shared drinks, and even celebrated holidays side by side. It became one of the most peaceful wars in history. No casualties except for the pig. Finally, in 1872, after long talks led by Kaiser Wilhelm I of Germany, the border was officially decided. The ruling favored the United States. San Juan Island was declared American territory. The British withdrew peacefully. Today, the site of the standoff still exists. You can visit American camp on the south end of the island and English camp on the north. Cannon emplacement, officers' quarters, and flag poles remain silent witness to a war that never was. In the end, the only casualty of the pig war was a single pig, and perhaps a few bruised egos. No humans died, no shots were fired in anger. Two nations stared down the barrel of the war and decided to walk away. That small act of restraint, choosing peace over pride, may have prevented a war that could have changed the North American history. So, the next time someone says, "Don't make a mountain out of a molehill," remember, Once upon a time, the world nearly went to a war over a pig.